Let's take a close look at the new Darth Vader Death Star 2 Vintage Collection action figure, VC280.
Villa Varykino, living the Star Wars life.
Hello there, and thanks for visiting the Villa Varykino YouTube channel. Today, I'm going to be taking a closer look at the new Darth Vader Death Star 2 Vintage Collection action figure. I'm very excited about this one. Darth Vader is one of the characters that's been done very many times in action figure form, but you know, some are better than others. So I'm very keen to see how this one stacks up. Before I open it up, we'll take a closer look at this fabulous backing card. This is, of course, part of Hasbro's Vintage Collection line. So we have that vintage racetrack styling and the Kennett logo down there. We have promo image from Return of the Jedi featuring Sebastian Shaw as Anakin unmasked, Darth Vader on the Death Star 2, as we can see that matches the figure there. That's a nice clear image. We have the bright red Return of the Jedi vintage logo, and we have the new 40th Return of the Jedi anniversary logo here in the corner, because of course we are celebrating 40 years since the Return of the Jedi came out in cinemas this year. We can see the figure carded here on the front. We've got a lot of accessories to go through. I'm very excited about that. Different components to the helmet and even a different hand there. Lightsaber and hills. Lots of fun stuff there to go through. On the back, we can see that this one is VC280, and we can see some of the other figures from this wave. We have figures from the Book of Boba Fett, other Return of the Jedi ones. We have a Bad Batch one there. Lots of fun variety, trying to collect up as many of these as we can. So I guess that is the backing card and a little bit of a preview of the figure on its bubble. It looks really cool. If you are a figure collector that likes to keep them carded, this one is certainly going to look very good on your shelf. But for us, we like to open them up. So I'm going to go and take that bubble off so we can take a closer look at the figure inside. Now I've removed that bubble from the backing card, we can get that shot from Return of the Jedi there of Sebastian Shaw. Really great shot there of all the detail. Very cool. We like to keep our backing cards, so it's always nice to be able to remove them off and have a very nice backing card to keep. So now we have the figure here in the tray with all the accessories that we can see for the first time. I've just gone and snipped some of the sellotape so I can take those accessories out, but it's fun getting that first view without that plastic over the top, and it's looking pretty cool. Okay, so I'm going to start popping these accessories out. Let's see how tricky these are to get out. We've got lightsaber hilt, a removable hand, a lit lightsaber, and we've got the top dome there. That's pretty cool. I can feel that it's a bit squishy, so hopefully that will fit over the head quite well. And we've got the faceplate. This looks interesting. That's a little bit of a narrow squish there. Interesting to see how well that's going to fit over. And then lastly, the figure itself. So let's see. Okay. Oof. Got him out there. I'm just going to pop that tray out of the way so I can take a closer look. Okay, so first thing, this cape was pretty well hidden in the back. That's a lot of fabric. I couldn't really see it when he was in that packaging tray. Wow, that's quite a full cape there. That's really quite cool for those sort of striding down the hallway scenes there. That's a lot of fabric. You can see just how full that cape is. That was quite clever, the way that they had that all tucked neatly in behind the figure in the packaging. So let's take a look-see here. I think the paint job looks pretty good. You know, like there were 2 on the store shelf, so we didn't have too many to sort of go through and select. But, you know, I think it's looking pretty good. No major paint flaws that I can see straight away. A little bit of a wonky ankle there, but that's just positioning. Cool, so I'm going to have a quick little look at the articulation, and then we'll have a look at the way that these accessories go. So we've got a little bit of movement at the neck. I'm always a little bit hesitant to move the head too much, especially when the fabric is attached around. The fabric goes around the front, just under this neck piece. So I get the feeling that perhaps there is a hole cut in the fabric. to sort of help secure it, but I still, you know, there's no edging to this. If you're rough with this fabric, it will sort of get tatty along those raw edges, and I really don't want to sort of create a fluffy edge there around the neck. So looking at the shoulders, we've got a similar thing to what I've seen on some of the other Vader figures, where those shoulder cups are just kind of have a split behind to allow some movement there, because they are just that little bit rubbery, so that we can still get a little bit of shoulder movement. We can kind of see it flexes open there at the back, so we can go up, and of course sort of standard, you know, to the front poses, and that sort of standard articulation front and back. But it's good that we've got a little bit of movement there. I like the clean look of when the shoulder bell's kind of sculpted with that chest plate there. So this one is of course the post-fight version, where his mechanical hand has been cut off. We can see that cool silver sort of detailing there, and I'm going to have a look and see how easy it is to pop that off and swap with his complete hand in a minute. We've got pretty tidy chest paint box here. It's looking pretty good. This is of course the Return of the Jedi. Don't quiz me on the different colors, but I know that this is the Return of the Jedi version, which is obviously different to his appearances in, say, the prequels and the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. Same again with those boxes there. Pretty tidy paint on that belt buckle as well. Got a little bit of sort of rubbery flex here on that cod piece, and we'll take a look at the leg articulation. Pretty easy leg flex there. I was expecting that to be a little bit firmer. That's actually fairly movable there. It looks like he's dancing the can-can. We've got an upper thigh swivel point there, so we can turn the legs outward. We have stiff knee joint there, classic knee joint, and snap back that into place, and just the sort of very standard Hasbro ankle articulation there, just kind of and a little bit of sort of movement to the side. I don't like twisting the ankles too much because I'm always worried I'm going to pop a foot off or something like that. But yes, very, very classic articulation there in the legs and on both sides. So same again on this side with the arm. If we flex that out, we can see that the shoulder joint moves up so that we can get some interesting sort of arm up poses, and we can see the fabric sort of skirt section here attached around at the belt, flat back, and that big cape. I can see that there is, moving his arm up and out of the way, there is a small peg hole sculpted into the belt just above that little hook. So hopefully the lightsaber hilt will fit in there nicely. But overall, that is the articulation. Let's just check out this one's got, I keep forgetting, the other one doesn't have hands, so there's no hand articulation. This one has a hand. So we've got pretty standard sort of moving there at the wrist, and at that elbow joint there. So pretty good articulation. The legs are a little more softer joins than I would have expected. Sometimes the figures are very stiff, but so long as they stand up well on my shelf, I'm not too fussy about that. So let's take a closer look at those small accessories. We have a lit saber. Some figures, depending on, I guess, the size of the hilt, we have just the hilt and you can take the blade off so that you can do, ignited and turned off. This one comes with both. So we have that peg, which is kind of obvious. I don't like it when the pegs are on these ones. It always just looks a little bit weird, but we have a peg there to attach to his belt. Nice saber, pretty accurate standard Darth Vader one. So then we have the helmet, and this is going to be the interesting thing because, Darth Vader's helmet is so iconic. If it's sculpted funny, it really does show. So it looks a little bit squishy and soft here because it's been in its packaging. So I think the true test is going to be getting it on that figure and taking a closer look. And then of course we have the other hand here. So kind of curious what I'm going to try first. I'm going to put the lightsaber hilt in his belt. We can pop that on, see how easy this is to put on. So I'm going to line those two up. Yep, it's kind of a tight fit. I really don't like breaking the pegs on these things. Let's see, I'll wiggle that one in. Okay, bit of a wiggly tight fit, but we get that one on in there. Just going to see how well this hand holds his lightsaber before I go and play with that other one. Okay, that one holds it pretty well there. Pretty nicely. Good grip. Doesn't feel like that's going to come out. So let's take a look at this helmet. So I'm pretty sure this sort of breather part is affixed to him. It doesn't feel like it's going to come off, and I really don't want to see if the head will pop off, particularly with the way that this cloak is kind of joined around here. I don't want to risk disassembling that beyond where I want to, and we don't see Darth Vader in Return of the Jedi with this off, so I'm assuming it's not supposed to be taken off. Okay, so let's see how well this is going to slip over. Okay, so that was pretty easy. With that sort of rubbery join, we can see a bit of the head back there. And I'm just going to take his lightsaber out of his hand so I can see his face a little bit better without that in the way. So we can see the sculpting there. It's pretty shiny. This kind of slightly rubbery plastic is pretty shiny. I feel like the gloss of it fits pretty well with the baseline. There's a tiny sort of little bit of a gap because these aren't sculpted together. It's going to be very, very hard to get that meeting, but it's pretty close. You know, from a distance, I probably wouldn't immediately pick up on the fact that those are two parts. I think that looks pretty good. So let's see what he looks like with the dome on. And I'm not sure if there's no peg or anything like that. I think it's just going to be a matter of trying to get this positioned in a way that looks right. Okay, it did kind of click. I wasn't expecting that. It kind of clicked into place. I was worried it'd take me a while to get it looking correct. So now we can see what that one looks like fully built. I was a little bit worried it might look a little bit, you know, pinched in or anything in the back because this is bendy, but that's a pretty good shape. I think that looks pretty cool. So it is pretty good that they've given us two versions of Vader. You know, TVC is not really marketed to kids, but, you know, not everyone has the budget to be buying all the different Vaders. So you've got one with his helmet on, and we've got different options here to sort of do the different Return of the Jedi scenes. So I think that looks pretty good. Bit better. When I was squeezing those, I was a little bit worried this was going to look weird putting it all together. Okay, so let's take a look at this hand. These are the parts that always make me nervous. Actively disassembling action figures. Okay, so that took a little bit of wrestling there, but I did manage to get his cut off section of his arm off. That was quite tightly on there. It just kind of fits over the end. So now it's time to see how easily this hand fits on. And I'm going to try and sort of line up that inner peg from his hand into this. So we'll see how easily this is going to work. It's going on there fairly well. Okay, so that just comes, it just comes out. So I guess that would have been easier to do. Let's see. Okay, you're going to go in. Okay, I think that's on. Oh, okay, yeah, he's all in bits. So I'm trying to make sure that his arm looks like it's like the same length as the other one, which I think that does. Yeah, sorry about the little black specks everywhere. There's sort of a bit of a factory dust from the raw edge of this cape. It's getting on my hands, just sort of shedding a little bit here. So pretty good hand. Is just not as quite sort of free movement as this one because that is quite a tight join, but we can see his hand sort of grip there. It's a pretty good pose. We'll see how well he holds his lightsaber in this hand. Bit tight. Gotta flip him upside down here for a minute. Okay. Yep, that looks good. Good firm grip. He's not going to drop that one. So there we have it. And now I've got to assemble him again with his helmet. Pop that back on. Guess this is a good test to see how well I can do that a second time round. Okay, there's definitely a spot where it wants to sit, which is good. I'm always worried that this is going to look silly, and see how well this is going to pop back on, if it's going to do that click that I felt the first time. Kind of. Just kind of squeezed on a little bit more that time. Okay. Overall, pretty good. No major flaws that I can see. You know, good articulation. He holds his saber well. Let's see if he stands up well. He's going to be a little bit, he's kind of want to tip over to the side just a little bit. It's going to take a little bit of adjustment to get him to stand up. There we go. Looks pretty cool. Okay, so now that I've got him all sorted, over here to the side, I have the Dark Times Darth Vader from the Obi-Wan Kenobi show. This one was a very popular Darth Vader figure, certainly a good release in sort of recent years. So now that I've got that one to compare, here is the figure, which we were pretty impressed with. So now I'm keen to see how different or similar these two figures might be. So I'm just going to take the saber out of this one's hand and make sure I put those accessories over there so I don't lose them. And okay, so I've got the Death Star 2 in my left hand, and we've got the Dark Times Darth Vader in my right. So we can take a closer look. I will put some stills up as well, just to show some of the details, particularly on that helmet. So the dome on this one has some flex in it. It feels like they've basically used a very, if not identical, component to these. And I'm just looking at the details. So one thing that I know that is different is the hands. Darth Vader wears different gloves in different films. I kind of like the ribbed gloves of Obi-Wan Kenobi. They look sort of, I don't know, I guess less detailed here, but that is accurate. We can have a look at the legs here. If I pull his skirt back, not too much difference that I can see in terms of the sculpting. Sorry, I'm trying to look in two places at once. That looks down to the striping on the thighs. I think that is pretty much the same sculpt. Those boots look the same. Very similar codpiece. I think this one's just perhaps sitting a little bit differently, but that looks pretty similar. And in terms of, say, the belt, I think the belt is the same, just with these slightly different colored buttons. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series one has a little red button, and this one looks silver on this paint job. And one thing that I can tell is this funny sort of little crease in the sculpting of this chest panel is the same in both. So this component is the same piece, just with those different, we've got dark blue for Return of the Jedi button and a green chest button for Obi-Wan Kenobi. That looks pretty similar. So apart from those arms, I'm curious to see if the upper arms, get his cape out of the way, if those upper arms are different, possibly. This one is shinier, so I think it's the same. I think it's just possibly the light picking it up differently. I think because this crease here looks the same. I think the upper arms are the same, and then we get the gloves that are very different, very obviously different. And I'll have a look at that helmet side on. So let me know in the comments down below, do you think that's an identical helmet? It looks to my eyes pretty identical. I don't see much of a difference. I don't know. I'm wondering if this one's slightly more sort of narrow. But I'm just not sure, because this one's obviously a little bit more flexible because I can take it off. I don't know. Perhaps it's got a little bit, I think it's maybe a bit wider here. Like the, I'd have to like take photos. They're falling out of my hands. Have to take photos of them, like, you know, superimpose them to see if they're different. And I just got to make sure I don't mix them up. There we go. So yeah, very similar. I think it's gonna really come down to if you're really picky about the size, because obviously this one, it's a full helmet. We can't take this one off. There is no head sculpt underneath. This one has a full head sculpt underneath. So generally speaking, especially with the likes of stormtroopers and clone troopers, if there is a head sculpt underneath, the helmet ends up being a little bit oversized to be able to fit that sort of second layer of plastic underneath. But there's not a huge difference really with this Vader helmet. From the front, I'm perhaps seeing a little bit more of a scale difference from the front, but it's really minimal. I mean, if it wasn't for like things like the gloves and the chest buttons, if I'm looking just at the helmets, it's a little bit harder to tell the difference. Even at places I thought it would be obvious, like the join here where that separates, it's pretty minimal, which is kind of cool that they've managed to do that. I thought it would be, you know, to be honest, I thought it would be pretty obvious to tell which one you can take off to reveal a face under it and which one not. So obviously this one is still worth getting if you've got this one, because, you know, you can take his helmet off and he's got that Return of the Jedi. If you're a stickler for accuracy, you're not going to put this one in with your Return of the Jedi scene. And one thing I'm wondering is the fabric, I think, for the capes and the soft goods is pretty much the same, because you can see I've handled this one a little bit, and some of those edges you can see are starting to get just a little bit fluffy. So I get the feeling this one is probably going to do something similar. They've both got very full capes. If I fling them around, you can see just how much fabric. This one might have a bit more. I don't know. I think this one, yeah, possibly has a bit more fabric than this one, which is interesting. But yeah, I was very keen to see how they compare. You know, Darth Vader's obviously done a lot, but some are wildly different, some are very similar, some are just simply reissues. So it's interesting to see the components that they have used that are the same and the ones that are different. So I hope that has been interesting and hopefully informative for anybody wondering how this new Darth Vader figure compares to another one. I know that took a little bit of time to go through all the details, but I really do like to see all those fine details up close. You know, I think the skirt fabric is the same as well. Sorry, just looking at them side by side there. I personally, I think the paint job of this shoulder plate is a little tidier than this one, but that just could just be down to figure variability. Just there's something about this one that just looks a little cleaner and tidier than that one. But yeah, again, paint jobs do vary figure to figure. So I'm very glad that I have these two Vader figures in my collection. I was worried that, you know, with the popularity of Vader figures these days, that we might miss out on this one if we couldn't find it locally. Now he's going to be weird and not stand up. He is a little bit harder to stand up than this one, I have to say. This one, oh, now he's going to not stand up for me. This one generally stands up pretty well. This one's just a little bit wobbly, possibly down to that, or just I've just got the wrong balance here. I generally do like to put them on stands when I put them on display. So there we have it. We've got the Death Star 2 Darth Vader and the Dark Times version from Obi-Wan Kenobi. Let me know in the comments down below which one you prefer, if you really think they are too similar to worry about, or whether you think one is better than the other. I'm glad I have both. But yeah, I've got to say, I do really like this one. I like the fact that we've got all these extra options, because of course that duel with Luke Skywalker on the Death Star is an iconic scene, one that should be a part of everyone's action figure collection. So thank you so much for watching. Catch you in the next video. Do subscribe if you enjoy our Star Wars unboxings. I really do enjoy opening up my figures and taking a closer look at all of those details. Thank you so much for watching. Catch you on the next video, and as always, may the Force be with you.
If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like, check out our other videos, and subscribe for alerts about new uploads. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.